Good evening. We're passing out nomination ballots for next year's recipient. So when you get one, please fill it out with someone who you may have in mind as a possible recipient for next year's award. All right? Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. I want to start by welcoming everyone to our 2020, that sounds crazy to say, right? 2020 Martin Luther King Day Award celebration with the Highland Park Human Relations Commission. Before we get into our program, oh yeah, you can clap for that. Y'all can clap for that. Before we get started, we'll have some remarks from our mayor, Mayor Gayle, Brill, Mittler. Give her a round of applause. She comes to the stage.
It's amazing how I can't see any of you out there. Welcome to our annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration and Humanitarian Awards. I want to thank Ashton, Burrell, and the members of the Human Relations Commission for all the hard work they did in putting together tonight's event. Here in Highland Park, we must not recite the words of Dr. King. We must live them. We must not merely mouth the words of his famous "I have a dream" speech. We must work to make those dreams realities. We must not just strive to drive out darkness. We must become a source of light, of hope, of peace. We must not just live side by side with neighbors of different colors, faiths, or sexual orientations. We must live together as brothers and sisters. When fear or anxiety strikes one part of our community, as it has done all too often these last few years, we must not retreat into separate corners of our town. No, we must join hands and actively work to assist and support one another. While Dr. King Jr.'s words are timeless, there may be some times when his legacy is even more vital and more instructive. I do believe that we are definitely living in historical moments right now. When prominent political leaders disparage people from other countries or other races or other religions, casually and without consequence, we urgently need to call on the guidance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. When hate-filled mobs march on the streets of Charlottesville, Virginia, chanting racist and anti-Semitic slogans while carrying weapons, Nazi and neo-Nazi symbols, and Confederate battle flags, we must speak out in the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And when a large number of our neighbors believe we've all reached that promised land, and there's no more need to offer any special assistance to our fellow citizens, even while those citizens struggle, and there's political disenfranchisement, then oh my, do we ever need the clarity and moral force that the words and actions of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. bring to bear. Dr. King's life teaches us that the struggle for justice and for equality is not short or easy. It's not for the faint of heart, but if we stay focused and stay active, we can see the seeds of change begin to bloom. As Dr. King taught, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Dr. King's work teaches us that we must understand the temptations of separatism, but not allow ourselves the indulgence of disengagement. His strategy was to reach out to find allies who understood the struggles of African Americans, wanted to form common cause with them, and help advance their interests. The printed program for tonight's event features an iconic photo of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. marching alongside Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. Dr. King understood deeply that allies from other faiths, nationalities, and beliefs can help greatly amplify your voice and your capability to influence others in ways that one group on its own cannot. In the struggle for justice, we all need partners. And while the challenges facing our African American neighbors may be different from the challenges facing other minority groups, the manifestation of the hate brewing in what was once and can be again our loving and accepting nation, the threats, disparagement, unjust violence, and other perils must be overcome and overwhelmed by understanding. To live and personify Dr. King's dream, to be more effective, you cannot go it alone. We all need allies. We must resist the appeal of angry separatism, and we must prepare for the prospect that a struggle will take longer than you'd like. But in the words of Dr. King, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Thank you.
We will now have the invocation by our Human Relations member, John Wenz.
Hello, everybody. Is Tibetan. I've been honored to lead an invocation to call upon all the precious and sacred beings to bless each of us and to be with us today. And throughout the year, as we live together in our all and together in all of our many splendid diversities, I am honored deeply, and I wish each of you to please help me in doing a special prayer for my Tibetan Buddhist teachers. I need each of you to join me, each in your own way, This is a very special way of praying that only a few people know about, and it is my faith. But everyone can do it because of their own way, and you can make use of your own religious traditions and weave them in as you see appropriate without any problem. But don't worry, you can just sit and watch if that's more comfortable for you. All right? Don't worry. But if you can join, you're very welcome to join in your own way. So for all of us who can join, it might not only be sacred, but it can actually be fun also. As we call upon all the Buddhas, Jesus, God, and all their teachers, prophets, rabbis, imams, and lamas, I stand here and you sit here, and we surround ourselves visually and mentally with our families all around us. Our fathers, our mothers, our sisters and brothers. Okay? What we do is we mentally see them, and we have them surround us and be around us. We have our sons and our daughters, our nephews and nieces, and cousins galore. We welcome each one. We see them in our mind. We see their faces. We give them a hug or a smile, a kiss on the forehead, or whatever way you traditionally greet them. And you ask them to be with you. Okay? So this is the beginning of a visualization exercise. Okay? I want you each to be able to try to see and visualize the face of your mom and your dad, and go through your family. Okay, I'm going to play the singing bowl while you're visualizing your family about you. Next, we add our friends and our co-workers, our neighbors, and all the people you know into that circle of prayer around you, all on each side of you. Okay? It's starting to get crowded a little bit, but it's cozy and warm. So see your neighbors, see their faces, let them be with you. Next, we ask all the people that we don't know very well, those that live a few blocks away, around the corner, the ones that you pass at Stop and Shop all the time, or those that you pass on the Turnpike or on 287, or those that you sit next to in the Jersey Transit. Just all the people you see that you don't really know. You invite them to come and be with you. In your mind and in your heart, you visualize them being around you. And it's getting a little bit bigger now. It's filling up the room. Yeah, with all of these people. Some of them people that we visualize, one might be my neighbor and it might be your family member. And they're all around us. Okay? Next comes the very important part of inviting very special guests. This is so very special. Those of you that know me know that I might cry at this point. You invite to come right next to you, at your side, your so-called enemies. Those people who are difficult to get along with and difficult to relate to. Those of different political views or cultural viewpoints. Those traditional enemies from your culture. And any who appear to you and your family as enemies. Could be bill collectors, tax collectors. Immigrants, perhaps, are seen some people as enemies. Could be gang members, sometimes they're seen as enemies. And those people from lands where there's conflicts and wars, those contemporary conflicts that we have in Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Palestine. And please include everyone from any area of conflicts that you know, near or far. And even potential future enemies, if you can imagine such a thing. And we invite them to be right next to us. We set a comfortable place for them, right next to us. We welcome them. We offer them a drink, cold or warm, whichever they prefer. And we honor them as special guests. And we be most polite to them especially. We're almost ready for the prayer. We look up and we see the very special being of your tradition, Buddha Amitabha, Jesus, God, Mother Earth perhaps, and whoever you see as the most special being in the entire universe. And you see all the teachers from the cultures that you've been involved with in your spiritual tradition and human tradition, and you offer them a sincere bow. And now we're ready to offer an aspiration prayer that's from Thich Nhat Hanh, who was a very good spiritual friend of Martin Luther King's. And here's the prayer. May all of us be happy to learn, experience, share, and celebrate the life experiences of those who come from different backgrounds than we do. May all of us be free from pain and suffering, of any acts of injury, offense, anger, stress, or indifference caused by ourselves or others. May all of us live with ease and well-being, guided by patience, generosity, forgiveness, and understanding toward the conditioned experiences of all beings, with a heightened awareness of those who are different from ourselves. May all of us be free to discover and experience the Buddha nature or that of God in all beings, with an openness of a newborn child toward his or her parents, seeing them first. And I'm going to try to turn this page. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from pain and suffering. May all beings live with ease and well-being. May all beings be free. Thank you for the honor of allowing me to lead you in this invocation. And may this prayer, or something like it, stay in your heart all this year of 2020. Thank you so much.
We will now, if everyone can stand, we will now sing Lift Every Voice and Sing by Sonya, who will be on the piano. There's lyrics in your programs.
Yeah,
Oh yes, we're gonna keep the light on. Yeah, we're gonna.
They will also come up on the screen up here. Before we start, I just want to say.
Oh yeah, you can cut them. I forgot we have them up there.
Yeah.
Wait, everybody can see that over there when it comes up?
It'll be big.
All right. All right, we can cut the light on.
So the poetry and the music for Lift Every Voice and Sing were written around the turn of the 20th century. And it was shortly after that that the NAACP decided to declare this song the Black National Anthem. And I think I just want to draw the attention to the very first line, which is, lift every voice, and sing till earth and heaven ring. As we sing tonight, let's just really think about these words and the meaning behind them. I also want to say a little disclaimer, which is that I am not a pianist. This is a sign of how, I guess, at home I feel in Highland Park. The fact that I will sit here in front of you all and do this. So that means, I am a music teacher though, so that means if you're not singing loud enough, I might stop and have us start over. No, I'm kidding. No, but please do sing out and enjoy these words and enjoy singing together.
Till earth and heaven ring.
place on which our fathers sighed, have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered, out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy right led us unto the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, forget thee. Shadow beneath the head, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land.
Thank you. You may be seated. We will now have words for Dr. King, who's saying, give him some love as he comes to the stage. Shoot. He was clapping for himself.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
How are you? Yeah. So, I guess coming back after 3 years, I believe we even here as well. Coming back after 3 years seems a little weird to be on the opposite side of the stage. But I was told by our lovely host, Ashton, a very sharp man, I was told to talk on unity, right? And how I just thought right after that, I was like, all right, as unity, right? I guess I'll call myself part of the youth, right? We have to unite as the youth, right? And with Dr. King's message, right? He said something along the lines of that the day your life begins to end is the day that you decide to stop helping with the change that's going to happen. And that's real because, for example, right? Like why Ashton even considered, right, like calling me was the reason that like within the past, I guess, few weeks, like I've definitely been trying on my social media to brand myself and to motivate the youth, especially in the area, right? And the reality with that is that everyone's not investing their time in themselves, right? And that's so deep because nobody wants to love themselves; they want to love others, right? And the reality is so hard to comprehend because if you have, like, whoever has children here, you have a 17-year-old, you have a 16-year-old, they're more focused on how many followers they have rather than how they are inside. And that's okay, but are you even, as that 16-year-old, do you even fulfill your own needs? Like, do you find yourself, when you look in the mirror, do you know who that is? Do you know who that is? And uniting with yourself, right? Like, my content on my social media is more kind of, I guess, like, towards, like, the religious side of, like, you know, how you can become better in religion, but also how, not only just religion, but how you love yourself through yourself. You don't need anybody else. And there's a wisdom in that. And the wisdom in that is that, okay, I can look into the mirror and I know who that is. Right? But that's a level all the way over there. Some kids don't even know who that is. They don't even have time to look at that because they have so many other things going on in their families. They have so many things going on. Right? And I admire the work of Dr. King because of the fact that he helped so many of the youth stay away from those bad things that were happening and help with the change that was going to happen.
That's right.
Because he wanted to see that future. And anyone who works with the youth, especially Ashton, like in my high school years, I was like going to the, I think it was Boys to Men Club, and even with Amir as well, he can remember. And it's just fascinating how working with the youth will help build a better future.
That's right.
And uniting, especially on your social media platforms. And I feel like I was gonna make a little bit of like a business talk of like how you can brand yourself, but more so just know yourself before you even try to brand yourself. Right? And even if I want to go into like a little bit of the how, because I'm a Muslim, right? So as Muslims, we're taught to pray, right? Pray by yourself and build that connection with God yourself. But also, you know how much rewards you're going to get. You're going to get 27 times the reward if you pray with 2 other people. If you pray with at least 2 other people, you're going to get 27 times the same reward that you would get when you're praying yourself. So it's just that's knit into our DNA that we need other people. And uniting together, even if it's just with a best friend. If it's just with a best friend, you can unite with that best friend, and it will work. It will work so many miracles on you as an individual. But the warning is here: don't let that person be the dependency of yourself. Be independent before you try to go to other someone. Because especially in high school, I'm very like vocal on like how I really just. I'm a little against like relationships in high school because I feel like the kids, they're still growing, right? And me as a kid myself, I feel like I'm not ready for a relationship. I don't know myself. I'm not ready, you know? And it's just, it's a whole cycle that builds toward building yourself. So if you have taken anything from what I'm saying, right? I'm a kid, right? Honestly, let's be honest, I'm a kid. I'm 20 years old, I came here 3 years right after high school. Who am I? I'm no one. But all I can say to you is that uniting within your family unit, the little family, even if you have you're a single mom or a single dad with just your child, uniting and staying close and knowing what's in their heads, knowing what's in their hearts, that's better than letting them find themselves on their own, right? So thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I would like to welcome you all to a very beautiful panel, and thank you so much.
We will now have the history of Dr. Martin Luther King's fraternity by the president of the Highland chapter, Mr. Chris Pegaron. You can give him a round of applause.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
First off, I'd like to thank my brother, Ashton Burrell, for allowing me to speak today at this Martin Luther King Jr. Humanitarian Award Ceremony. For those that don't know, though my brother did introduce me, my name is Christopher Pegaron, initiate of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated in the fall of 2015, and current president of the Theta Psi Lambda chapter in Somerset, New Jersey. As president of Theta Psi Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, I'm honored to share a few words on the history of this great fraternity and what my brother, Martin, has done to the world and our society. By no means is what I'm about to say hyperbole. The history of Alpha Phi Alpha is the history of the United States. Instead of me trying to prove my position, I'm just going to drop some knowledge. And I'll let you and Ashton form your own history book. As we know, what is taught in the United States history classrooms across the country is not the whole story. They teach some of the story, but not the whole story. I'm not here to talk about slavery and its generational effect on African Americans, but in the words of Malcolm X, We did not land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. Someone say amen. Look to the right and say neighbor. Neighbor. No, I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that today. You have to fast forward about 400 years when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed by Lincoln, freeing all slaves across the United States. Us black people finally got our first win, right? Well, nearly 30 years later, the U.S. Supreme Court declared that it was constitutional for racial segregation to exist. Pretty much what that means is it was law for us to be separate, but we were supposed to be equal. Alpha Phi Alpha, Fraternity Incorporation, was born out of this troubling time. Alongside of the Niagara Movement, the creation of the NAACP, and a bunch of other social activism. People everywhere, left and right, were looking to make a change for the Black American. Now, over in Ithaca, New York, at Cornell University, 7 young college students decided to come together and form a social club committed to the cause of freedom, which transformed into a fraternity on December 4th, 1906. Today, they are better known as the Seven Jewels. The fraternity's mission was, and today still is, to develop leaders, promote brotherhood and academic excellence while providing service and advocacy for our communities. As word of our fraternity reached other campuses, a desire and a movement traveled across our nation. Can you believe that? In 1906, it traveled across the nation without social media, without cell phones. The second chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha, the beta chapter, was soon formed at Howard University. And now, over 100 years later, Alpha Phi Alpha spans over 800 chapters across the nation and internationally in Africa, Europe, the Caribbean, and Asia. Over the past 100 years, our members have had a voice and influence on politics and current affairs. We have been in the forefront of the civil rights movement, led by our own brother, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and the Brown versus Board of Education verdict, also oversaw by MLK, and part of the end of the Jim Crow in America. As I close, the work of Alpha Phi Alpha continues every day. As we remember our brother, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., let us remember what he stood for, equality, and for us to have the right to live fulfilled lives, no matter the color of our skin. His dream lives on. Just look in the mirror. Thank you.
We will now have words for Dr. King, my brother and sister from Rutgers, Hillel.
So just for a little background, I'm Rafi, and my friend Elisheva over there. We're here representing Rutgers Hillel, which is one of the main Jewish organizations on Rutgers campus, College Ave. And my position is pluralism in education, and one of the things that I do at Rutgers Hillel is I work on interfaith dialogue. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about that, and I'll let Elisheva tell you a little bit about herself when she comes up here to speak. Okay. So, in an age of incredible political divisiveness and fractiousness, we need to create settings that are at the same time safe spaces and brave spaces. This is what I strive to do with my work in interfaith dialogue at Rutgers Hillel. Interfaith dialogue sets up two important models for engaging with those who differ from us. Number one is to be able to engage in sharing about religious commonality, creating a safe space. We ask, what experiences do we share as people with religious experiences? And what do those experiences mean for us moving forward together? The next model is that of preserving one's own identity, creating a brave space. This model forces us to ask, how do we differ? What makes us distinct? What is particular about my identity? What is my historical narrative as it differs from yours, and how can I learn from yours and your perspective? The goal of our dialogue with all those we differ from should be to preserve our identity, to preserve our particularity, to preserve our uniqueness, while at the same time creating a willingness to share in our common human dignity. We must be willing to learn from each other and to think about where we are beginning to see conflict arise from the ways in which we differ. We need to take more time to evaluate how we ourselves approach the perspective of someone outside our realm of thinking. Most importantly, this is because we are all here together. We need to figure out a way to survive and thrive together, because if we don't work together, survival will seem all too distant and all too irrelevant. I implore you tonight to ask yourselves this question: how can I, as a person, evolve in a way that allows me to share my full self-actualized expression of myself, and alongside that, be able to share that ability with others, to promote that ability for others, and to do so with compassion and respect. I just want to thank everybody for having us here, and I hope that this can be really, that Reverend Martin Luther King, that his memory should be a blessing for us all, and that we should continue to follow his ways.
Hi everyone, my name is Ellie Sherman. Like Rafi said, we're part of the Rutgers Hillel Jewish community. I've had the position of social action chair at Rutgers Hillel for the past year and a half, and it has brought a lot of meaning to my life working with the community to form programming, meaningful programming for the Jewish community and the overall Rutgers community. My job, my position, has two components: a community service component and a social action component. The community service component, the main program, our keystone program that we run is called Good Deeds Day, where we unite a lot of different faith groups on campus to come together through service. A lot of the community service programs we run are we make soup for Stein Hospice, we bag lunches for Elijah's Promise in New Brunswick, and run a bunch of other service program that way for the overall community. The spin that we do is that we try and open it up to many different groups of faith, that way we can all come together and unite in unity through faith. Some of the communities that we have partnered with are the Catholic Student Association, the Muslim Student Association, and Ahmadiyya Muslim Women's Association. And then the social action component that we are trying to start this semester is by inviting different activist groups on campus to come and speak and express the work that they are trying to do in the Rutgers community and the community at large, and the positive change that they are trying to create. That way we can have an open dialogue and come together through unity to create a common, better space and fight against hate. So these two programs share the same goal as Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. of forming relationships and hearing different groups' stories so that we can stand together against hate.
We will now have spoken word for Dr. King from Highland Park's own Justan Mitchell, Motivation Destination founder.
Good evening.
Good evening.
foremost, let me say it's an honor and a blessing to be among you, not just because of this event, but to share this stage with such awesome individuals. So let me go ahead, bless you, brother. Congratulations to you, and I need to go over here too, because I want to minister my law. Bless you, it's an honor. Bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you. Sonya. And also because my son is here, so he's seeing things that when I was 8 years old, he didn't get a chance to see. I'm always honored and blessed to be able to do that. So like Ashton said, my name is Justan Mitchell, co-founder of Motivation Destination. I am the destination for your motivation. That is the brand that I'm developing as a motivational speaker. What I came to share with you tonight is something that was inspired by Dr. King himself. Unbeknown to me growing up, I didn't realize that Dr. King was going to have such an impact on me. So let me just say this. He was a man who was obsessed. And I'm going to say that in a way that he was not going to let something that he knew was his destination, he wasn't going to let that stop him from conquering the evils that were around him. He reminds me of Samson. Everybody knows who Samson was. Very powerful man. He had his eyes gorged out. He was chained to these pillars, right? And everybody knows that at that moment, Samson decided to make one last prayer to God. He said, give me strength one more time. And God granted that request. And what did he do? He pushed and pushed. And he pushed on those pillars until they fell down. See, Dr. King wasn't going to stop. He kept pushing. He kept pushing. He kept pushing. Like I told my son earlier today, in his death, I believe his death had such an impact that it might have been just as powerful as his living legacy, because we're still here today celebrating. So the poem I wrote is called Poison Unto Me, which is extremely motivated by Dr. King's life and legacy. So let me share Poison Unto Me with you. If I don't use my last breath to give back that which was so freely given to me, then may the bullets labeled poison in the pockets of young G's be poison unto me. As I lay in this earthly watered tomb, its wet wholeness hovers over me. My body's hairs stand tall, waiting for the next spiritual testing. My heart is quickly pumping. My lungs are fully expanded, stretched for the procession of poetic verses to cram in. Therefore, I've been nakedly exposed for those who would otherwise never know. And my experience has taught me to teach those who can't see naturally, or those who are just refusing. And as I watch these young lords in America's streets, the boss creeps like a murderous beast, a liar, a cheat, and a thief, trying to slither by in cars labeled police. The rain is coming, but you couldn't have been warned, because your boss is in the cop's car. He's been there all along. And you might have seen, if you weren't stuck on weed laced with crack rock, only to achieve an addictive high that you will probably never leave. But to leave can be, because the experience you experience as a young lord in these American streets used to be me. So if I don't use my last breath to give back that which was so freely given to me, then may the bullets labeled poison in the pockets of young G's be poison unto me. We got these rap cats in studio booths, spitting bold-faced lies and telling half-truths. Not realizing that they're adding to the demise of our youth, but in the future, their health will go bad. And these young boys that they prostitute will be over your sick bed taking care of you. But all they do is add to the negative propaganda of media waves. So if lives they decide to wordplay, while encouraging young boys to call our women out of their names, not caring that the tongue is as deadly as a double-edged sword, and when used by an evil man, he should be slain. Now, you may call me oversensitive or maybe insane, but I refuse to sit back with my hands folded and allow this madness to maintain. My ancestors and greatest inspirations were put to rest because they would not allow the mentalities to be wasted or put in chains. Therefore, I do the same. And the plague blood will continue to leak out of inanimate ballpoint veins until doubts turn to questions and facts get raised. Until our young boys come home off the streets corners to pray. Until they seek the Spirit's face and promptly ask, what must I do to be saved? And if I don't use my last breath to give back that which was so freely given to me, then may the bullets labeled poison in the pockets of young G's be poison unto me. If I'm ever too fearful to share what I've been given divine power and authority to achieve, if I allow my flesh to dilute the message that's being sent to me by the Almighty, if I'm ever too rich with wealth to forget my writing, then by all means, may the comfort of my violent fears pour judgment upon me purposefully. But if I do use my last breath to give back that which was so freely given to me, then may the God of my weary years bless generation after generation as he has done leading up to me. We've seen through the lies of devilish eyes, now it's time to comprise a plan of action to be wise, by giving sight back to the blind, by teaching the necessity for positive energy, starting with our young lords and young queens in America's hallowed streets, those who have been brainwashed senseless by the flooding of demonic beats, with a love of 45 degrees and 9mm heats, or alongside a synthetically coated party pill mixed with DOPE street named ecstasy. I will not allow this to rest the best of me. I'll use my bare hands with a swollen heart combined with the love of poetry to bring the enemy and their strongholds in our communities down to their knees, begging for mercy. And with God as my witness, I will use rocks to write and walls to receive, like hieroglyphics of days past from my ancient ancestry. Through these words, my mission will be complete, because like Dr. King, I too have a dream that sees the East and West meet over beats, creatively planning our ways to expose this white supremacist beast, a dream that sees the North and South decode the brain computers for forbidden text, where righteousness is yelled from the rooftops of the roughest projects. I have a dream that sees these 12-year-old fiends one day writing and reciting poetry.
Yeah.
Because through poetry, I'm free. But if I don't use my last breath to get back that which was so freely given to me, then by all means, may the bullets labeled poison in the pockets of young G's poison unto me. May God continue to bless you and guide you in the spirit of truth. Namaste.
Our guest speakers tonight are some of my young brothers and sisters, some of our young brothers and sisters from Rutgers, NAACP chapter. Yeah, you can clap for them. Yeah. I think everybody has homework from the students at Rutgers Alive, and you guys, y'all got a connection right there to start getting things done together right there. It all starts with us coming together and working together. So after we hear song selection from Miss Sonya Headlam, we will then hear from the voices of our Rutgers NAACP chapter. And we also want to give a shout out to all of our elected officials. If you're an elected official, please stand. We got our NAACP president from New Brunswick here. We have our mayor, yeah, there we go. Our liaison, Mrs. Stephanie King, our mayor, Gayle, Burrell, mayor. We also want to thank our Chief Abrams, stand up, Chief. They're doing a great job over there. And any clergy, Mom, go ahead, stand up. And everybody who's here, you can stand up too for yourself. There you go. Give yourself a round of applause, absolutely. And then we will have a song selection from Sonya Headlam. And also, we have to thank the tech crew, the young people back there. And Brian doing a great job out there, thank you.
How's everybody doing tonight? I'm Amir Wright, former Highland Park High School graduate, actually high school graduate, Highland Park High School, Highland Park alumni, everything. I've been around town. I've seen everybody in the world in Highland Park. I've been in Highland Park, what, 11 years? Actually, like 12 now. But yeah, like Ashton said, we're part of the Scarlet NAACP. We're very honored to be here speaking for you guys today. 3 years ago here at Highland Park High School, I, alongside two of my brothers, Naeem G and Ben Harley, were on the stage and we received the Next Generation Award for the work of our ongoing and ever-growing organization here at Highland Park High School at a seat at the table. 3 years later, I find myself here again giving the keynote speech alongside my new family in the Scarlet chapter of the NAACP. With our chapter of the NAACP, I am esteemed to hold the position of the membership chair. As membership chair, I'm not only responsible for recruiting new members, but also maintaining the members that we do have. And with a team like this, I must say, my time at Rutgers has been an absolute blessing and blast. Last semester alone at the Scarlet chapter of the NAACP, there have been a multitude of events that we've held and been a part of. My favorite being the annual high school outreach, where we bring in a group of 10 to 12 high school students from schools all around New Jersey to get the experience of a college student's weekend. The weekend started on Friday. Our students participated in the Black Men's Collective dodgeball tournament. The following Saturday, we all went to watch as our Scarlet Knights team put up a somewhat decent fight against the Ohio State Buckeyes. And followed up the game with an amazing spaghetti dinner made by some of our fellow E-Committee members. Our weekend closed out on Sunday with a catered brunch from New Brunswick's own Deltas, and a chance for our students to meet some of the other organizations as well as the sororities and fraternities on campus, as well as meet our national chapter's advisor, Ms. Deb, and our New Brunswick area NAACP's president, Mr. Bruce Morgan. The fall of 2019 was just one of many great semesters in store for me and the Scarlet NAACP. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, before his tragic and untimely death, wrote a book titled, Where Do We Go From Here? Community or Chaos? It details the hurdles still to be faced by the African American community following the advances of legislation such as the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Dr. King urges us not to lose track of the long-term goal of total liberation in exchange for short-term gains. We believe in an age of spin and complacency, this concept is as imperative today as it was in 1968. Dr. King's question is what we at the Scarlet NAACP aim to answer this semester. Good evening. My name is Jafari Wells, and I am the Political Action Chair of the Scarlet NAACP, of the Scarlet Chapter of the NAACP at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, the State School of New Jersey. My responsibility last semester was ensuring that we engaged the student body in productive political discourse. We understood that the hyper-partisan nature of the times and aimed to break out of the dichotomy of left and right, Democrat or Republican, or so-called liberal or conservative. Most Americans fall upon a spectrum with no one following an ideal strict line on party ideals. Above all, we were focused on conveying the importance of not only voting, but informed voting. Thus, our first program in our voter registration and education series was titled, When We Vote, We Win. This meeting centered around the persistent attacks against voting rights of African Americans, touching on fellow disenfranchisement laws, targeting mostly Black people, voter ID laws, and the purging of voter rolls. Our following program was titled, You've Got to Vote to Drive the Vote, centered around the assault by GOP lawmakers on women's reproductive rights and the stripping of certain Title X programs. Following the October 15th debates, we held our meeting, Debate and Debunk Night. Our goal for this program is to force students to argue an alternative point of view than their own on topics including gun reform, abortion rights, reparations, criminal justice reform, and tax reform. Of all the meetings we held last year, I have to say that this one was a particular favorite of mine. I noticed that most consumers of news live in what we know as the echo chamber. This simply means that they only intake information that they agree with or that follows their own worldview. By being forced to intake inverse positions on a topic, students are able to empathize with their fellow Americans who differ in views, as well as be provided with information that will strengthen their perspective. Following our election night watch party, we held a program titled White House of Horrors. The purpose of this meeting was to emphasize the effects of voter inactivity. Many people, disillusioned by the Democratic establishment, elected not to vote for any candidate out of so-called resistance. New Jersey Senator Cory Booker once said, deciding not to vote is not an act of resistance, it's an act of cowardice, and it's an act of surrender. I believe this statement is a great segue into my closing arguments. In the age we live in, with our elected officials committing blatant crimes with no accountability, the easy route would be for us to say there's no hope, that the status quo is the natural way of being, and that there's no chance for us to turn about top. We apologize. The easy rule would be for us to say there is no hope, that the status quo is the natural way of being, and that there is no chance of altering our lives for the better. It would be painless for each of us to retreat to our respective corners and consider only our own self-interest. But as Dr. King tells us, an individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of his individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity. If we are to overcome the problems of our time, we must be diligent, altruistic, and united. Thank you.
Hi everyone. My name is Gayle. I'm the Vice President of the Scarlet chapter. My first experience with the NAACP was in 2016, the year I graduated from high school. I'd been scrambling for scholarships that would help me establish myself in my first year of college. I wrote an essay for my local chapter as instructed, and within a few weeks I was notified that I received the scholarship. This was the first time I met with community members and leaders on this scale. Fast forward to college. I was bouncing around to different organizations trying to find my place at Rutgers, a predominantly white institution. Coming from a predominantly white high school where blatant racism was a normal and daily occurrence, I strived to somehow make my mark now that I had the autonomy that came with being a young adult. The other organizations I tried were great, but they weren't for me. In the later part of the semester, I decided to seek NAACP out once again. I started attending meetings and being involved where I could in the organization. By the end of that school year, I decided to solidify my commitment for the organization by stepping out my comfort zone and running for the digital marketing chair position. Today, I stand before you as the Vice President of the Scarlet NAACP. As a Vice President, I've been responsible for keeping things organized within our executive committee. I am so blessed to have 15 executive committee members and interns at my side. Our advisor, Ms. Deb, and her husband, Bruce Morgan, have provided us with unconditional support, not just with our chapter, but in our personal lives too. Without this collaborative effort, our work as a college chapter would cease to exist. As Jafari and Amir discussed, we put on a multitude of events and programming that has enabled us to engage with the community at Rutgers. Being that I've been involved with the org practically my entire college career, with pleasure I can say that our reach and the success of our events has skyrocketed in the past 2 semesters. We've had consistent turnouts, important conversations, and have put forth efforts to resolve these issues we face. We became compliant again, and 4 of us even had the chance to experience the National Convention in Detroit. We have several events we would like to see you all at, like our basketball tournament and our Image Awards banquet. Although public speaking is still not my favorite activity, if you can't tell, NAACP has forced me to be in positions where my voice has been heard by the masses. I have been able to network and establish so many professional and personal relationships with like-minded people. NAACP is and will always be the organization for me, not just because we facilitate conversations about pressing issues of social justice, but because we pursue action. Dialogue is necessary, and it has served as a coping mechanism for communities like ours. But in the case of social justice, dialogue without action is dialogue wasted. The NAACP has taught me that I'm capable of being the change I want to see in the world, and it all starts with my voice.
Thank you. Joel Wattacheril, said it right? Right. A native Texan by birth, found his progressive home in New Jersey about 12 years ago. By day, he dabbles with technology in the areas of artificial intelligence and machine learning, and by night, he's an immigration advocate. As an AmeriCorps alumni, about 8 years ago, he found a home at the Reformed Church in Highland Park. He is co-founder of Dyer with Pastor Seth Caperdale of the Reformed Church of Highland Park. He has spent most of his non-career life giving a voice to the voiceless populations, such as the homeless, the working poor, and most recently, vulnerable immigrants. His desire to introduce our community to the broken immigration system through a weekly visitation program at the Elizabeth Detention Center is one of his biggest passions. Simply put, he's a technologist, immigration advocate, and a rebel with a cause. Dyer, the Deportation and Immigration's Response, is a proactive community team, including faith leaders, interfaith congregants, and neighbors of goodwill. They are all dedicated to ensuring the human rights and well-being of non-citizen individuals and their families. Without further ado, our Humanitarian Award winner of the 2020 Highland Park Human Relations Humanitarian Awards, Joel Wattacheril.
Unfortunately, many people who know me know I'm not a man of many words, but unfortunately for you all tonight, I wrote quite a few down. First, I'd really like to thank the HP Human Relations Committee and the Mayor's Office for this wonderful night. Isn't this a great program? Thank you very much. Wow, it's an amazing turnout. So, half of you in here probably are wondering, who is this guy? And the other half of you are saying, this guy got a MLK Humanitarian Award? What, are they just giving these things out? Please. Listen, I'm as shocked as anyone, more shocked than anyone in here, I'm sure. I still think Ashton Kutcher is going to come from the back saying, "You've been punked." So I've been struggling with what to call myself. Am I an activist? Am I a marcher? No. Am I a community organizer? Trust me, if you really knew me, there's nothing organized about me. Finley Dunn said that newspapers should comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. I like Cesar Cruz's version better. Art should comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. So that's it. I'm an artist. And people are my medium, and conversation is my paintbrush. So everyone in here, buckle up for a moment, because it's about to get uncomfortable. To quote both Martin and Malcolm, I have a dream, but I live in a nightmare. I have a dream that a father won't disappear trying to take his children to school. I have a dream that mothers and fathers won't be put in camps throughout the fabric of America. I have a dream that a child fleeing from danger, violence, and abuse won't run into the arms of a steel cage. But unfortunately, I live in that nightmare. We all live in that nightmare. And we're all complicit. You say, but Joel, I don't believe in this. I don't want to be a part of this. And I agree with you 100%. But we all pay pay taxes. I pay taxes. You pay taxes. And those taxes are being used to incarcerate and create psychological harm to innocent people. Okay, well, it wouldn't be a Joel speech if we weren't talking about nerdy statistics. So let's talk some numbers. In the few years that we've been collecting data, we have visited 115 people from 42 different countries. All of these individuals, out of all of these individuals, I've yet to find one hardened criminal. A certain government group would like you to believe that 80 or 90% of these people are criminals. So tell me, why haven't I met one that I wouldn't call a brother, a sister, an aunt, or an uncle? These numbers just don't add up. Of this small population, we have 60% of them released back into our communities. Now, a very small number of them are fighting their cases, but that means a majority of these criminals are back in our communities? What are these stormtroopers doing? Capturing people, torturing them, and then releasing them back to us? We are causing harm not only to the individuals incarcerated, but their families, their friends, and their American children. Yes, it's true I co-founded Dyer with Pastor Seth Copperdale, but I have a secret confession for you tonight. I do not want Dyer to exist anymore. I don't want to have to go visit people in the detention center, to have to console one parent and their children while another sits in a detention center, to have to watch children learning to fend themselves in America. Okay, yes, I'm preaching to the choir. But the problem is, America is supposed to be a representative democracy. So where is our representation? Through all this noise of the impeachment debate, did you hear recently that Congress has given this administration an extra $131 billion, more money than they had asked for in their military budget? And just recently, a judge has overturned the injunction where that money can be spent on building that glorious fence or those steel cages. I don't know about you, but this sounds like taxation without representation. And where have I heard that before? What kind of resistance is this, Nancy Pelosi? Senator Menendez? Senator Booker? I'm no preacher, brothers and sisters, but I offer you absolution. There's a small team of individuals who visit the Elizabeth Detention Center twice a week, every week. About 2 years ago, I ran into an existential crisis. There were about 2 or 3 cases that I was sure going to win, but for some reason, they were sent back to their war-torn countries. I contemplated quitting, or at least taking a break, and then I ran into one case that changed everything for me. On one Wednesday evening, we arrived to the detention center, and I was saying hello to friends and family in the lobby, and a gentleman looked at me and he said, "Are you a human rights lawyer?" I looked around, I said, "No, sir, I'm sorry." He said, I'm looking for a human rights lawyer, and I'm here for a girl inside. And I said, well, if I see someone, I'll let you know. So I walk into the visitation center and down this corridor, as many of you in here know, and I turn the corner and I see the face of someone that would haunt me for the next 6 to 8 weeks of my life. I wondered, what was this child doing in an adult-only facility? Over the next several weeks, women who we had been visiting befriended her and started to care for her. We started visiting her also. And some of the visitors really took a liking to this sweet girl. You'll be happy to know she was released and joined our community. A few months out, settled and starting her new life, I saw her in the hallway at our RCHP. There she was at the end of the hallway, surrounded by her new friends, laughing and smiling like every young woman should. I waved at her and smiled, and she smiled back and gave me a nod. And that was a day that everything changed for me. I realized that we may not be saving lives, but we're changing lives. Ever since that day, I've dedicated to making sure we go visit these individuals every week. I can count the days that we've missed on one hand in the last couple of years. We bring them a smile, some stories, and maybe just a little bit of hope. What I like to say is, we bring humanity back to humans.
Amen.
So I encourage you, choir, in these tense political times, to not only vote, but to talk about what you really believe in. One party will say to you, vote blue and that'll do. But remember, those steel cages were built by our last Democratic president. So I say to you, vote you. Vote what you believe in. And hold these politicians accountable. And make sure your voice is represented. I am honored and humbly bowed to receive this award from you all tonight. But this award is for you all, my New Jersey family. Those crazy folks at the Reformed Church, my old colleagues at various nonprofits around New Jersey, AmeriCorps alum, my former students in Socio, and last but not least, this wild band of brothers that I play tennis with every week. They let me vent and they exercise my demons out on and off the court. Thank you. This award is really belonging to all of you. But I do dedicate this award to two people who, like your forefathers and mothers, left their country, their family, and their friends to come to this country. Joseph and Eliana, my parents, thank you for truly making America great. Thank you all.
Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? From our dear Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So when we leave this place, let that leave with us as well. We all have a lot more in common than we think. How many people in here have a name? Everyone in here have a name? There we go, that's a start. How many people in here have $200 billion? There's another start. So we're all together and we all have a lot of similarities. Sometimes it just takes us to be the one to break the ice with a simple hello, with a simple how you doing? And also us to understand we can agree to disagree. Just because I may not agree with what you're saying, or you may not agree with what I'm saying, doesn't mean we can't coexist and talk out what we need to talk out. Because we all want to learn from each other. They say the day you die should be the day that you stop learning. And everyone in here has breath in their body. So I thank everyone for coming out to our 2020 Martin Luther King Humanitarian Awards. I also want to say to my team, the Human Relations Committee, please stand, the members. This is the team. This is my team, this is my brothers, this is my sisters. I don't do none of this, they do it all. To our mayor, our liaison, thank you. To our chief, thank you. Highland Park, thank you. Everyone that came out, thank you. We have light refreshments. 2020, we trying to be fit, you know? I know y'all was probably like, where the mac and cheese at? Light refreshments. Next year, we'll bring back some of the hefty food. But once again, thank you everybody for coming out. I hope you guys get home safely. Thank you.